So first goal for today is to learn basic Java features by typing reasonably simple application. In this application, we'll have classes and interface, so it's not too elementary. It will have different packages, and we will create automatic unit testing for it. So it will contain unit tests. If you took Android course, you're somewhat familiar with unit testing, but again, it's different language, so it is different rules. Idea is similar, but not copy-pastable. So let's do that. I want to create a project called MyDice1. If you created at the previous lesson, I will go through the same steps, so you can just watch till the point where we stop at the previous lesson. So I'm opening IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate, and I assume that you already installed Java and IntelliJ and Git, because we spent 1 hour, more than 1 hour on instructions how to do it. So when you open IntelliJ, it will give you a list of previously opened projects. If you don't have one, you don't have a list. If you don't have a list, these buttons will be bigger and they're sort of close to the center. So in order to create pure Java project, we use different steps from creating Angular project, JavaScript project, or web project. So it is Java specific. So what should we do? For pure Java project, new project, because it's new one, then new project here, and we select Java, we select Java again, we select Gradle. This, if you select different option, it may work, but it will look different. So please follow what I do, so this way you can get the same thing what I do. Okay? So I select Gradle, I select 17, I select Groovy, add sample code, I select, create Git repository. It is possible to edit later. So if you forget to check, it's possible to edit later, but it's easier if you do it right away. So I select Gradle repository, and in advanced settings, I keep it by default. In this, you can always keep default, except you do assignment. In the assignment, I ask you to use Sheridan.your login name. We need to give it a name, obviously, right? So name MyDice, and 1, for example. MyDice1, you see it adds here automatically. Right? So let's verify it again, top to bottom. Name, folder, and you see it adds additional folder for the project. When you clone, be careful, because it doesn't add folder automatically. You'll have to type it here when you clone from web. Then next step, Java. Next step, Gradle. 17, Groovy, add sample code. Open this piece, keep it default, then Sheridan.your login name, MyDice1. Then create and relax a little bit, because it takes time to do. If you create project first time, you didn't create it, it takes longer to do, because now it is downloading libraries from web. Okay. Okay. It is building. It says externally added files can be added to Git. We can view what is Git. It's version control system. It adds, it lets us to save our code with the progress and roll back if we need to, and go to any previous step. So let's don't try to do anything while it's busy, because it may confuse it. So it looks like it's done for now. And again, if you create project from scratch right away, it may take slightly longer. And then it says some files additionally created, but Git doesn't know about them. There is a file called git ignore. It is listing files that should be ignored by Git. And when it says some files added, but I don't know, it means it's not listed in Git ignore. it's most likely it is safe to add them. So view files, select, add. Okay. Before adding them, you can look at colors. Green means file not committed into version control, but Git knows about it, that it should commit it. If file looks like kind of brownish, it means Git knows that it should not be committed. If file looks kind of red, so let's find it. View files, Gradle W. Actually, it's already added automatically, so this is fluke. We can say add. So if it shows green, it's already added automatically. But you can always click add again, it's not a big deal. When a file is not known to Git, it will show in red name. Red doesn't mean it's mistake, a kind of brick color. Not underline it with red, but file name will be brick color. It means it sees it, it doesn't know should you commit or not, so when you commit it, you select it explicitly. This tab is about your version control. Git, it says no changes committed because it's new. Okay. It already created main branch. Some projects create not main branch, but master branch. The general trend on internet, we keep switching from master to main. So if it is master, you can always rename it to main. At any time. At any time. Before you push it on GitHub, you can rename it. If you push it on GitHub, you can rename it in two places. So this is nothing here. Let's do first commit. Let's call it initial commit. We got something. It's new. But OK, what should we do? Commit or check? OK, maybe we should check that it's working. Okay, so let's check that it's working, and if it's working, we commit it. So there is option to run current file, and when you drop it, there is none on the list except current file. If you have several files, you may get a situation that you have one file open, but you want to run main. So in this case, you click run here, and it will add additional option here. So when you click run main, you see it is building. And eventually, we will see this part, hello world. Hello world. Okay. So we see it is working, so we can, and also main option appeared here. So we can commit it to Git. How to commit? There is a commit button, it is here. When you click on it, it shows pieces. Right? And initially, nothing is selected. It gives you option what you want to commit. A git ignore file is listing things that's supposed to be ignored, and they are per folder. So you have to, not per folder. They can be per folder. Okay? So if you put it in the folder, it will apply to current folder and everything in between. So potentially, you can override or add features this way. So it is, if you use git ignore files, it's safe to select it. Some projects do not create git ignore, so you have to write them yourself. Not in this case. So you select everything, and when you commit, you need to write message. But before doing so, click on this. Analyze code and check to do. It is good idea, bad time. Because now it will start browsing through existing code, some settings of your code, and we're not experiencing it with Java yet at this moment in this course. It will give you some warning, but we don't know what to deal with it, how to deal with it. We can always run code analysis from menu anytime later, but for now it's a good idea, bad time, so uncheck it. If you forget and check it and you run commit, it will give you all blah, 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 warning, warning, warning. You can always say ignore and commit anyway. So it's not end of the story. You will not get stuck with warnings. You will just have to click ignore, unless you want to fix them. So I uncheck these options. When we commit, we need to give a message. Hopefully informative. Initial commit, like the first one, right? Initial commit and click commit. Commit and push work only if you have some place already for the project on GitHub and it will push it there. I never do it both at the same time. My preference, I'll commit. If I like it, I keep it. Otherwise, I can roll back. Okay? So I click commit, and eventually it says committed, 13 files, and you see changes disappear because it shows changes after last commit. When you click on Git button, we see main. Now it has one commit, initial commit, my name. When we list it, it shows also my email. So this is why it's important to use your name in the settings of Git and the same email, because I will see it in your assignments, and if it looks like the name of another student, I'll have to spend time to find out why. So that was first commit. Now let's keep playing with it and change code. So you see, this is class generated automatically. So what do we see? Public class main. Going back to project, you can switch project, package, project files. Appearance will be slightly different, but it will refer to the same code. So I keep it project, and if something is not shown, I can switch to project files. So by default, I keep it project. So what do I see here? This folder .idea, it is internal settings of the project by IntelliJ IDEA. Don't add anything there unless you really need it for some reason, but not for now. Build it is temporary files, and this is why in this color, so it's never committed. Gradle also temporary files here. In source, this is your source code. The automatic testing will go here, and don't type stuff there from scratch, because some of the code can be generated. You can edit it later. So today we will learn how to generate some of the code and add later to tests. Typically, it will mimic structure of this. So in main, we have Java, Sheridan.tetervac, and main. Okay. This main belongs to this package. This is how it is created by default. Technically, a class can belong to default package, and when it's default package, you don't have the name here. Don't do that. It's bad practice. Class should belong to some package for good reasons. What is package? It is scope. It is scope what you define it. So to limit visibility of it. Okay. To limit visibility of the things, so you don't run into naming conflicts. For example, you define it main in this package, but another package may also have a name made in it, some library, or whatever. So by limiting scope of your names, you avoid conflicts. Technically, package Sheridan.tetervac actually means Sheridan.tetervac.main. This piece is assumed by default when you say that it belongs here. When you import package, you use name from another package, and this will be also kind of assumed when you import it. So what do we see here? We have file main, and we have public class main. In Java, public class in the file must match exactly name of the file. This is the restriction of the language. If you have public class main1 in the file main, it will not compile. So it means also that in Java, you can have only one public class per file. Speaking about public, Can we have other classes, not public? Yes. If you remove public, first, what does public means? Public means it is visible for any package, any file. Okay, public means visible in front of class, any package, any file. If you remove public, it will be visible only for stuff related, declared in this package. So no restriction means actually restricting to the package. If you write private here, it will be compilation mistake. Why? Because it will not be visible anywhere for anything. This is what would happen if you write private. At no point of writing code which is not visible anywhere for anything. Right? But why do we have private classes? We can. If we declare a class inside of another class, these such classes you can make it private. They will be visible only for outside this class. These kind of classes are called inner classes. If you declare a class inside of another class, it is called inner class, and you don't use keyword inner because it will be assumed. Some languages do use keyword inner, like Kotlin, because if you declare class in another class, behavior could be different if it is inner or not. But in Java, it's inner, and inner means visible for this, and this anything in this class also visible for given class. Okay. This is why we can have potentially private classes, but not at the top level of a file, because this way it's not visible to anything. But if you declare a private class inside of another class, it will be visible to this class. This is about private. Private, public, and no specification means it is private to package, not visible to other packages. Next, importing. If we want to use a class that belongs to another package, we need to import it unless it is Java Lang package. This is default one. This belongs to that one, so we don't need to import system. You see Java Lang. If we want to use math, we have to import math to access it, unless we want to type explicitly blah, 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 dot, whatever. So I don't remember what is package name for math. I think it is math. Okay. So what is this public static void main? In this particular case, it is starting point of the given program. And public static void main, it is special kind of method that can be in every class that you want. It means potentially you can start your program from any class. This is why we have to specify where to start it. So you can have public static void main in another class and start it from there. What is this part? Square brackets means it is array. So we declared array of strings of this space. So we have an option to start program from command line, and these will be command line arguments given to the program. It is optional. If you delete this part, it will still compile. What is public next to the method? It means it is visible outside of the class. What is static in front of the method? It means it doesn't use instance variables of the class. I mean variables declared here. So if I declare variable here, like private int I, and say, for example, 0. In this, I cannot access it. So I cannot do this, join string I. You see, it's in red, because this is static, and static class cannot access instance variables of the class. But what is difference? Instance variables, they are per object. But there is another kind of variables, they call static. Static variables are per class. So they will be shared between all objects created from the given class. So for example, if I see private static, static, it is okay, right? Static methods can access only static variables of the class. And these static variables will be shared between all objects created from the class. Okay? So this is meaning of static and not static instance. When you call a method outside of a class, if it is static, you don't need to use object. You can use class name because these variables belong to class, not object. How it is implemented? In Java, all objects implicitly inherit from type called object. Okay? So if it is object, if it is class, it will inherit implicitly from the class called object. Right? And that object has data field called class. Technically, this piece belongs to that data field called class. This is how it is implemented. And that one is shared. So this is the idea. So what is next? This piece is kind of long to type each time when you want to print a lot. Right? But you cannot really easily skip this part because if you delete, this piece is not important. You can fix it, but what is this piece? You saw system.out.println. How it works? Out was variable inside static variable inside of class system. So this was static variable inside of the class system. And that variable refers to object. Println, we call method of that object. So this is static variable inside of a class system, and we use system name of the class to refer to this variable because it is static. We can do that. And println, it's a method of that variable. We can import static fields separately from classes. How to do it? You can do Alt-Enter. Alt-Enter, it's immediate help. So it's a import static constant. So this is how import static constants. Now we fixed this. I already use it. I use it iTemporary just to explain the concept of static. So I deleted this. Now, public static, this is imported, fine. We can always change it, right? So, and reach the end point of your previous lesson, right? So, hello from MyDice 1. Just so when program starts printing, you know where it's coming from, right? And another message, see you later. Paste. It is just for convenience to isolate printouts of the program from other messages when it prints to console. So let's run it and see if it works. It did work. We achieved something. Let's commit it for practice of committing. Commit, it shows what was changed. Right? Before commit, you can always see what was changed. You double-click this file, and it will open comparison, like compare. Right? So what was changed? Import was added, this empty space was added. This place was replaced with this place, right? And another empty space. Okay? So you look at it, you close it. I want to keep this, even with empty, but I will delete it afterwards. Fix it later. Now it's not initial commit. I can say edit more println, more prints, okay? And now I want to commit it. It says committed to one file because I changed it only one file. If I do go to Git, now you see it is adding up, okay, to your commits. So this is general procedure with dealing with commits. What if I break the code beyond repair? So okay. So, and imagine I made even bigger mess. And I even clicked Save All button. So now it's really messy. One way to deal with it is to go undo, 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 like 15 times, and eventually you will reach it, but it's inconvenient. There is a nice button called Rollback. If you want to recover to previous commit, you click Rollback button. You select what you want to roll back, click roll back, and you got it back. So this is a nice way to get back to your previously saved, committed step that you want to recover. For example, you work on something, you break it, and you forgot what you did. So you can always go back by clicking this button. You can also go back to previous commits by using GUI, right-click and go there. There is two ways to go to previous commit. One, it is revert, and the other one is reset. Are they different? Revert is revertible itself. You can revert. So if you change something back, you can always recover next again. A revert is revertible, but reset is just killing your commits. Okay? You cannot go back to that. You cannot revert reset. Okay? So we will see it with the future, or just experiment with different code. So this you can always pick some piece and create branch. We will practice with this today. So going back to our code. So let's add additional class. But before, by the way, speaking about additional class, before adding additional class, I want to create additional package to show how to do it. So I want to create package, call it domain. And I want to create, since it's about rolling dice, class, call it dice on it. So creating package. New Java package. And I add package, but before going there, let's don't add not domain, let's do MyDice package first. Okay. MyDice package. Enter. I got my dice package here. We can add even more packages, package inside of the package the same way, MyDice and domain. You see, it is kind of folding them together. It does it for our convenience, but on hard drive, they are actually folder inside of a folder inside of a folder. So if we try to go to project files, perhaps it will show us project folder structure. See? So on hard drive, package is also a folder. Okay? So and this is also a restriction of Java. Package name is also matching folder name. So I switch it to project files to see this folder structure. Let's go back to my project here, and I want to add class to this package, and I call it dice. So new Java class, call it dice. And I have options to create class, interface, record, enum, and annotation. Class is just regular class. By default, it will probably make it public. We will see. Interface, it's a kind of contract for other classes to satisfy. You're probably familiar with it. We will play with it today again. Record, it is special data class. Design it to store data and probably something else, but it is designed specifically for data. Okay? And enum, it's an enumeration type, imitation of something that's can be used as a constant. Doesn't have to be one data field. You can join several fields inside of a num. Annotation, it is annotation to classes, variables. It is extra information on top of it. You will see some annotations today. Today we will not create own annotations, but we'll use annotations that comes from Java. So I select Java class, simple as possible, in this package. And this is dice. So as you see, this is in red. This is what I mean. When Git doesn't know what to do with this file, yet name of the file appears in brick color red. And it asks you, do you want to add it to version control? When I click add, it will know how to deal with it. And color magically will turn, not magically, the color will turn green. Green means it wasn't committed, it's new file. Blue means it was committed but changed it afterwards. We changed this after commit. I deleted some empty lines. Okay. So this is the meaning of blue, green, red, and blue. Dark means it was committed and it wasn't changed after commit. And this should be ignored, this color. So public, the same idea. This class will be visible outside of package for other things. You cannot make it private. If you remove it, it means you cannot see it inside of a main. But I should use main. I should use it in main, so I cannot remove public in my situation. Okay. So I created a simple class, public class dice. Since I want to imitate rolling dice by my design, probably I want to store some value there, right? So, and I want it to be changeable by roll method. When you click roll, it will change that value. And it should not be changeable outside to some illegal value, like, for example, -1. So for this reason, I want to restrict access. So -1 is not assignable to it. So for this reason, I will create this variable private. But it will be visible by means of accessing get value. So I create a variable, call it value, and I make it private. Private int value. Next, what is int? Integer, right? It means integer. But Java has two kinds of integers. Int and integer starting with capital value, capital letter. Both will work, but they're different. If it is integer, it is object. If it is int, it is primitive type. Okay. What is the difference? In a primitive type will be faster, but it doesn't have methods. You cannot call methods of it. And primitive types cannot be used inside of like lists, hash maps. They call generics. Primitive types can be used only inside of arrays, or just like variables, or inside of other classes, but not in generics. So not every variable is an object in Java. Unlike C#. In C#, every variable is object, even int. So this is private, but I do need to have an option to access it somehow. Otherwise, it's not really useful at this moment. So I want to add setter and getter. Java does not have properties. Language does not have properties. We imitate properties with setters and getters in private values. So how to add them? You right-click and set generate. Getter and setter. select for what, click OK, and it created code for you. Get value, I want to keep it, but set value, maybe I want to check values, right? So at least it should not be negative. So now I want to declare some constants for the limits. For since it dies, let's do it between 1 and 6. Okay? For simple case. Yeah, we know that there are dice that are not cubes, right? So let's do that. And this would be property of a class, right? In my design. So any dice created from this class will have the same minimal value, the same maximal value. So since it's a property of a class, it should be static, right? And it should not be changeable, because why would you change minimal value of a dice? So should not be changeable. If it's not changeable, it's okay to make it public, because it's not changeable. So I want to create constant, which is public, integer, not changeable. How do it? Public, public, static, because it is shared property between all objects. And then I say final to make it not changeable. This is how to do it constants in Java. Then next, I do min, min value. For constants naming convention are int also, I forgot integer type. For constants naming convention is capital with underscore. Capitals with underscore. So I do it 1 and semicolon. In Java, we need to end every line with semicolon. Otherwise, it doesn't compile. Not every line, every statement with semicolon. So obviously, I can do the same for max. Copy. Max value, paste, max value. Maybe I want, so it is 6. Maybe I want to declare something else like initialization, like initial value. Because there is a value you need to initialize something, so I declare constant for this, and I call it init value. And this again is our design decision, and let's make it 1. Copy, paste, and this will be init value, and this will be 1. Okay. So these are statics, so they will be in every object, shared in every object created from the class. Right? You cannot change them because they're final. And they already assigned it. Final can be assigned only once. Now, before doing the assignment, I want to make sure that it is in the limit, in the range, right? So I do, for data consistency, before assigning this, I check that value is more than equal min value, and this is how to do and. If you type 1, it's binary and per bit, but this is not. This is Boolean. And value less than equal max value. If so, I can assign. If it is not this way, the programmer needs to know that he or she is doing something wrong. So we need to throw exception. So throw it means throwing exception. Exception special class, use it in different languages. When you throw it, you'll let know to the code outside that something is wrong. If it's not code, program will crash. If it is code, you can recover by doing something else instead. Throw new, and there is a special kind of exceptions called illegal argument exception. When you create exception, you typically add message to let everyone know what is wrong, and I say illegal dice value, space, and we use plus sign to join strings, and this is value. Okay, next, what what do we see? We join strings. This string, but this is not string. Okay? So when you do this, Java is able to do conversion. Okay? So in this case, it will convert this integer to the string. So Java does have some automatic conversions, like other languages. What is produced? Another string. Are you already familiar with int type, right? Now you're familiar with string type. And those types are, int is not object, but string is object. But string is not changeable. What happens here? It is not changing original string, it's creating new one. Okay? String is immutable type. Also, I mentioned integer type, like not int, but integer. It's also immutable. When you add two numbers, it creates additional object. Here it is. So now I have setter with validation. All right. Now, how to create object from a class? We call constructor. If you don't declare constructor, it will use default constructor generated by default. But this is not really complete yet, right? Because I don't have role option, right? Okay. And generated constructor tries to do the best, but it cannot figure out that init value should be this. This should be initialized with this one, right? Because it's a human logic, it's not computer logic. So when we declare that constructor, we should probably, inside, we should initialize this to this piece, right? Default constructor. So let's do so. Let's generate constructor. Right click, generate constructor. This will be with parameter. But you can say set none. So this will be constructor without parameters. Select none. OK. This will be constructor without parameters. So what should we do? We should assign value to init value, right? This is probably a thing that should happen when we create dice. Next, let's create object of a dice and print stuff inside after we just create an object because there is no role yet. So I'm going to main, and I want to create variable dice, type dice. This is how to do type. But you see it in red. Why? Because this is declared in another class. So you need to import class in order to make it visible. You can go around, but it's not necessary what you want. If you can go around with just typing MyDice.domain.dice in front of it. This is longer and not necessary. Typically, we import classes, unless we have naming conflict. If we have naming conflict, we have to type name, package name in front of the class, separated by dot. So how to import it? The same. Alt-Enter, import class. Now it is imported. See, imported. But it is underlined because I didn't finish the line. So I'm creating new dice, semicolon, now it's happy. I created new dice object. I want to print stuff from inside. So I do out println, and I do dice equal to, and I join dice. Okay. And now what happens here? The same as before. I have automatic conversion of the object to string because I'm joining this with string. But it is your own class. And what it will try to do, it's not necessarily what you want. Okay. Like before, we have automatic conversion. For integer, it knows how to convert, and we just have, say, There's no other choice, other good choice, right? But if it is your own class, you can customize it. Because what is coming by default, it's not really what you wanted. So let's see what is coming by default. So I will run my main. So what came by default is dice equal to, this is how it is converted to string. You don't see value inside, and this is not what you want to see in printout. So how it is converted? Automatically, it calls toString method of an object of a class called object. Already mentioned before today that all classes, including main, including dice, inherit from class object. So it will use toString method from that object. So in order to customize this behavior, we override this object. Or not override this toString function. So I'm going back to my dice, and I want to generate toString. Generate toString. And this is what I want to display, value. Okay. Since it is your own, now it is your own, you can edit it. Maybe you want to add space here. Value, space here, to have nicer printout. So it is joining string, so it will print out dice, value equal dice, and curly brace. So what does it mean? Override. We override default method from the parent class. If you took C# and C++, you know that override works only for virtual methods, right? In Java, all methods are virtual by default unless they're static. This is why it works. There is no keyword virtual in Java because all methods are virtual by default unless they're static. So let's see how it works. So I run main. Dice equal to dice value. So you see, it automatically calls it toString. Okay. So it's very useful in debugging, as you see, right? So now we definitely achieved something. So we want to commit, right? So I click commit, and I select this, and I edit the basic dice class. Why it is basic? It doesn't even have role method in it. So it's like basic, right? Basic dice class. Now let's commit it. And in my commit, it will show edit the basic dice class, and this is it. Next, let's try to add role option, right? Because it's dice, maybe we should have a role in it. So since it should be available from outside of the class, I make it public. And returning value, what is generated, right? And besides returning, it should assign to current value by the mean of roles, right? When we roll, it will change the state of it. So I will do public. Public return type int, method role, and I need to generate return value. Right? So let's declare variable int, call it return, stands for return. And we can call special class, call it random, and call method out of it. But before doing so, I want to do brute force, just to make it, to see how it works. For the brute force, you can imitate it, this behavior with picking initial value, then typecast to integer. This is how Java typecast work. Type in parentheses will change type. In this case, it will to integer. And inside of this, I will pick how many it is max minus min, right? No. How many it is, in this case, max minus min plus 1, right? Max minus min plus 1. Am I right? Okay. You see it's getting a little bit messy, right? So max value minus min value plus 1. And now I want to use mass.random. Mass.random. Flow, you see, mathematic package gives you options to do mathematical operation like absolute value, random, multiplication exact, sine, tangent. Why do I do it? I want to show that math package is available in Java. So this is my goal at this moment. Okay. So math.random. Okay. So how, and I need to return value because this function is returning value. So I do return statement, and this will be return value. But we still have a bug, right? What is the bug? We didn't assign ret to value, correct? So we need to assign ret to value. And perhaps if we do code analysis will tell me that this is probably unnecessary, right? You could assign it to the value and return value. Okay. Code analysis may help you if we kind of apply it smart way. How to run code analysis? Sometimes it even give you options like this. Split into declaration and assignment, convert to atomic. No, it doesn't give it. But code analysis may actually, you click on this and code, inspect code. Okay. This is how code inspection works. You can inspect current file or entire package, and perhaps it will give you get value, never use it, but it's okay, we didn't use it, right? Sometimes warnings don't mean anything, not useful. Sometimes they are useful. Word value misspell it. Somewhere I misspell it word value. Yeah, misspell it. Okay? So, but it couldn't catch this piece. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not really. Okay. So, since I will edit it later anyway, I will keep it as a test for now. But definitely, what I found out, I want to rename these things. Hopefully, you did it right, not how I did it, so you don't have how to rename things. Don't do it brute force. Do always refactoring. When you do refactoring, it will rename it everywhere in the code, so you will not break your code. How to refactor? Right-click, refactor, rename, value, enter. And you see it's renamed everywhere. So when you need to rename something, you always do refactoring. Refactor, rename. Okay. Refactor, rename. Okay, now I fixed that, right? And you see it is consistent. Next, going back to project, what did I want to do? I added role. Maybe I want to test it, right? Well, what happens after doing this? I'm going to main, and this is printing dice value. I want to do demo how to print static value. Okay. So this is printing dice, but not value from the dice, right? So we can say copy, paste this dice max value. Okay. If you say dot max value, it will still work. But it will give you warning because technically it belongs to package class, right? Not instance. And this warning will tell you that it's better choice to call it like a static property by using dice class name. Right? Although using object name works, it's better use class name because it's obvious for everyone that it is static if you do so. Okay. So this is how to access static properties and static methods. You use class name. Like the same way how we did system.out. Out is static property. Static, not property, static variable. So this is max value. So let's check roll. So I print before roll and after roll, right? So I take this. And I say before roll, then I do dice dot roll. You see, it's helping me, and I do after roll. Paste after roll. Okay. So let's run it and see if it helps. So before roll it was 1, after roll it is 4. And when I run it again, after all it is 6. Now it is 2. Okay, so maybe we should do it better, right? Maybe we should do loop and print it like 10 times. So it also gives us choice to do loops, right? So let's, as a practice, create a loop for that and run it repeatedly, right? So I will create dice rolling values loop outside. So it is 4, and let's run it like 10 times. For integer I starting from 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. And I want to enclose this thing in the loop. So it is in the loop, calling repeatedly. Before all and after all, but it's not really before all anymore, right? So I would do this way, it will be before all, if I pull it out. So this is before all, then I roll, and again, after all, after all, after all. Okay. So let's see how it behaves. Okay. Before all dice, after all, after all, after all. You know that println, it takes you to next line. Okay. So technically you can do println and just print dice value, right? And do next line after loop is over. Okay, so let's do that. Do you understand what I mean? I want to just print it on one line. Okay. So before roll dice is here, then looping 10 times, but I do print. If I do so, it will add it to the same line. So I delete this piece, and I keep just space. So it will keep space, space, space. Then I give another message, rolling dice. copy, paste, rolling dice, maybe column. Okay. So before roll is this rolling dice. It will print dice on one line, but it will be dice blah blah blah. Maybe I should call get value, so it will be just a number. And after this, I will just create send empty string to end value and go to next line, end line, and to go to next line. Copy, paste, and this is empty. This will just take me to next line after these numbers are ending. Right? So what did they create? I added a little bit bug because this space is duplicated, but it's okay. Space. Or I can choose this space to be here, right? Space number. So let's see. Rolling dice goes to next line. I shouldn't. So it's a bug, right? So I remove println, run again. So before roll dice value 1, rolling dice, those numbers, looks like it's working, right? See you later. So I tested it. Not automatically, by brute force. Now let's commit it, because we definitely achieved something. Commit. I added the roll method. Okay, edit, commit. Next. Next takes a little bit more. Okay. And in this case, let's add reset method. Reset will go to initial value by the meaning of it. Okay. So let's go to dice and add reset method. Public. This is warning because returned value is not used. See, returned value is not used. Let's keep it return int because this is the meaning of dice. Right? Next, public void. Void doesn't return value. Void meaning void doesn't return value. And reset. And what should happen? I assign value to initial value. Init value. All right. So now we can check reset. Not copy, paste, and say after reset. Okay, after reset. So it is after reset, so let's roll it. After reset, value after misspell it, and it didn't work, right? Because it's supposed to go to initial, not for. So something is wrong. What is wrong? I didn't call reset. Because I said after reset, but I didn't call the method. So dice.reset, and now it is really after reset, after I call it reset method. So let's roll it. Now what I see? After reset, dice equal to 1. Okay. So we did achieve some kind of dice behavior, correct? So let's chat about it. What did we do? We tested behavior, and we can assume that it's kind of okay. It's working, right? But what if we change it, dice code? We probably need to test it again the same way, right? In order to make sure it's working. Would it be nice to attach some testing code separately and associated with the dice class? To use testing code elsewhere and associate it with a dice class specifically. So you can run it and make sure if it is working after each exchange. Because this piece of code is not linked to this dice in any sense, right? So this is where automatic testing happens. You create classes to test other classes. And this class that will be testing dice will be explicitly associated with the given dice. Given dice code. So you don't have something in main, another, something else in main, and so on. Plus, it's far more flexible than what I said. You can check conditions, and if it fails, it gives you warning. It gives you message it fails. So it is automated system. This is brute force testing manual, but there is an automated system called JUnit 5 for Java code. So how to deal with it? This is breakpoint. We'll talk about breakpoints later. So you go to class, you click on it at the top, say generate test. This is name of the class. These methods will be called before each test and after each test. So you can say test starts, blah, 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 whatever. Or test ends, blah, blah, blah. Or you can initialize something for the test in it. These are methods that you want to check in your test. It will be separate test per each method. You can always delete them and add your own methods when you want. So save to check everything. You can always delete them afterwards. It will create code for you, and you can edit it. So dice test, blah, blah, blah. Are you with me? Click OK. And you will see it added something to Git, and it added something to this folder. So you edit, not edit, but it created file, and Git asked it, what do you want to do with it? Keep it, right? As version control, because it's source code. As you see, it generated. This is annotation. This is annotation. This is was question, what is annotation? In dice, toString, where's my toString? This toString, this is also annotation. Add something on top of something else, it's annotation. That's meaning of it. Override annotation, jumping backwards, is not required, but it's a good idea. It tells extra information to the system, to programmers, that it is overwriting previous methods from parent class. Let's go back to dice test. You can test each method separately by running this. When you click this, it will add option here. You can test all of them together by clicking this, and if doing so, it will add option here. Okay. Since there is no code in it, they cannot fail because there is nothing to fail, right? So it means right now they will pass. So there are two ways of testing. You add some code, and if it crashes, it will fail. Yeah. An additional option, besides running some code on crash, not crash, you add condition. And this condition, if it is satisfied, it will pass. And if it is not satisfied, it is false. Okay. So maybe we should have a break or go without break. Up to you. Break or no break? No break. Okay. We will just finish earlier. Okay. We'll just finish earlier. So how it works? Let's in setup. Technically, you can initialize some variables in here in the class. By the way, this is package scope. You see, don't have a public in it. So let's do some out println. And some message. I don't know, it's testing case, okay? Okay. And out is not imported. We can import it the same way. It is imported now. All right. Next, tear down. You can also do something. So after each test, it will print you something. Copy. Okay, whatever. Missing semicolons. Okay. So what should we test? Let's do one for roll right now, okay? As an example, and after this, we'll probably just copy-paste stuff, okay? So for roll, first, we do make sure that it's not crashing. So we create new dice. Dice. Okay. We will print it maybe out println. Print ln. Say before roll. Before roll dice equal to and do dice. Okay. Next, we will do roll and after roll copy, paste, after all, and this will be after all, but we need to roll it. Okay. We can, again, if you click on this, it will just add additional option here. If you click this, it will add this option here. So it will keep growing. You can delete them, these options later. So I want to run just this because others are empty. So I click this part, run dice test for all. Well, testing case, before and after all, 1, 5. One 5 again, it's just by accident. Because it was 1. 1, 2. What is good with it? It doesn't crash, right? What is bad with it? It may crash because it's not predictable, right? Test supposed to be predictable. Because imagine if it is crashing, but next time you crash it, you run, it's not crashing, right? It means you cannot run debugger. Because it crashed after this, you try to run debugger, but it's not crashing because it's based on random number. So this kind of coding has huge issue. It may crash once in a while, right? So we have to do smarter. We need to make a random sequence, but reproducible random sequence. So if it is fails, you can run debugger and find out where it fails. Information that it fails is good. We know it fails. But we cannot run debugger because next time when we run it, it will not crash. So the way to deal with it is to use random number generator with seed. Seed guarantees the same random sequence each time. It is kind of randomized, but it is the same. So when you run next time, it will be the same sequence. Okay. So This is probably the next step, but before let's finish this idea. So what else besides crash, not crash? We can check condition. For example, assert true in condition. If condition fails, test will fail. Okay. Assert true in some condition. For example, dice get value is less or equal max value, right? Dice max value. Okay. Get value. Why it's unhappy? Assert true. Dice not set value. Get value, right? Get value less equal max value. So this way we will also check range, right? And if it fails, it will be message, it failed. Paste, get value, and it should be more than equal, more or equal, and this is mean value. Okay. So let's run it again. This one, this dice test roll. Pass it, right? Pass it. It's printed, but let's make it fail for sure, just to see how it fails. Okay. So I deleted put 0 just to, it should never be 0, right? So this is artificial fail. So I run it. This is how it looks like when it fails. When you click on the fail, it will tell expected true here, but it's actually false here. So let's go back to, in this case, was undo, edit undo. Where is undo? I don't want undo create test. It's obviously not the one. So I will just do it manually back. Max value. But we still have issue with randomizing, right? So it is still not reproducible. But at least we tested. So let's run all tests and see how it will look when it is all run it. So besides dice test roll, I can have option to create this part, run this part, run dice test. There's no output here because we don't have a messages there. But you see, this before and after is running before and after each test. But when it is reaching test for roll, it has some output. Maybe we should have a smarter messages for this, right? Than just this. There is option to do it. And this is called display. Display, so display name. And for the role, I call it this. Let me check how I call it. I think it's cool. Call role and check the range, right? Call role and check the range. All right. So going back. Still didn't do it. Let's check display name, call, check test. display name, dice test. Display name, call roll, and check the range. Check the range. Okay, let's find out why it's not doing it. Test display name, call value. Before each, after each test. Okay, let's ignore it for now. It's supposed to display here, but it doesn't. I don't know, probably. Oh, let's not test result. Let's try to clear this thing, clear all, and run it again. Rerun dice test. No, I didn't do it. Let's ignore it for a moment, perhaps back in IDE. This piece does show up here in all nice scenario. So let's continue for now and deal with other issues. We can copy paste other things later because it's a lot. Where to copy paste? By the way, let's fix issue related to random, because we may want to have it not random, or option to have not random, not random, but option to have not random. So how to deal with it? In the dice, we need to create not this hack, but use random number generator with the seed. Because when we give seed, it will become reproducible. So how to deal with it? I will create private variable here for random number generator, private random. Okay. Then I need to import it, Alt-Enter, import it. I definitely need to initialize it in the constructor. Right? So this is my constructor, and one choice is to just initialize it here. But if I do so, I cannot create random number generator with the seed, because it will be new random number each time. So besides it, I want to create another constructor with two parameters. So generate constructor with two parameters. First parameter will be random, second initial value. Okay. So let's, now I want to use this part. Where? Here. Right? So I call constructor. This inside of constructor name with parameters is calling this constructor. So what would I want to do? For random number generator, I will use just default call of the constructor without seed. For init value, I will pass init value. Okay. So now what I achieved? I achieved two constructors. One constructor is without parameters, so behavior would be the same. Right? And one constructor with parameters. This way I can generate dice that give the same sequence. Okay? Obviously, it is not using close annotations. Obviously, it is not using this random yet. So I need to call random number generator object. Where? In roll, correct? So in roll, instead of doing this magic, I need to use random number generator. So I delete this and I call random. And next int. You see, there is option origin and bound. Origin starting value, bound, it is max plus 1. Okay. So origin, it is min value, bound, it is max value plus 1. Okay. Before running the test, let's run main and see if it's still okay with it. Okay. So I'm going to main and run main. I switch to main and I run main. One, 5, blah, 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 still kind of probably okay, right? We can try again. Doesn't go outside of bounds, right? So we guess it's this right. But now let's make it reproducible. So in order to make it reproducible, I need to pass parameters here, right? So what should I pass? Random. Oh, no, sorry, I'm calling constructor. So it is new random, but with seed. Seed, it is long integer value. Say anything what you like. You choose different sequence, and it will different seed. It will be different sequence. And initial value, whatever you prefer to initialize, maybe starting with 2. Okay, why it's not? No, not here. Sorry. Second parameter, right? Starting with 2. But this is not initial value, right? But before roll, it will be 2 in this case. Correct? So let's run. So before roll, it was 2, because I initialized it with 2. And then 4, 6, 1, 5, 3, blah, 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 right? Run again. 4, 6, 1, 5, 3, the same sequence. So what did I achieve? I gave option to my class to make it testable, reproducible way. Correct? This way test can be made reproducible. So if it is crashed, we can run debugger and find out why it's crashing. All right, questions? So next, what I would do, I would go to DICE, not DICE, to test. And next step is just copy paste this stuff from code I wrote yesterday and explain it. This probably won't fit in today's lesson. Okay, but what else I want to do is to mention or explain interfaces. It will probably take like 10 minutes. It's not a big deal. So interface. Interface is a declaration of what is expected from a class. You can declare methods, but without body, and it will be enforced when you inherit from interface. Interfaces are used in polymorphism a lot. So it's this way you can use interface name to call method of a class. If you have several classes satisfying interface name, interface contract, you can use interface type in a list, iterate, and it will call different methods from different class with the same name. Classes with the same name. So let's play with it. Going to the main, new, and then I go to Java class, but in this case I click interface. Interface, I want to include only one method, role, so I call it rollable. So this interface is rollable. Okay, rollable, add. Now let's declare method roll that is returning integer. Int roll. Okay. It is public because there's no point of private in interface, and this is assumed to be public. Am I right? Yes, I'm right. Okay. Now let's make DICE satisfy this interface officially. Now it satisfies, but not officially. So it must inherit from interface. In Java, keywords for inheritance from class and inheritance from interface are different. If you use inheritance from interface, keyword is implements. If you use inheritance from class, keyword is extends. So in this case, it is implements rollable. Okay, and when we deal with interfaces, they say override is optional. And in this case, it's a good idea to say override, so it is explicitly telling everyone that we're inheriting, overriding roll method. Okay. So now it is officially checking. What is this one? Field random may be final. It did figure out that random variable is in this field is initialized from constructor, so we can make it final. Final means initialize it once, either immediately or from constructor for data field. This. So make random final. Okay. So this code has bug. Did you catch it? So let's find out. Remember, this part is assigned immediately. So range is not checked. Okay? So we can check range here, or we can call setter, because setter will check range correctly. All right, so let's try to call setter. Set value. Cool, but it will give us warning. Where's my warning? It didn't find out yet. It probably takes time to get this warning. Issue is, this is fine, it will work. But it is sort of security issue because this class is, we can inherit from the class and override set. If we override set we inherit in this class, we can potentially set value without checking range. Because we override set in the inheritance. This is why this is not security issue, but potential issue in some case. So it can give us warning, either in analysis or later on when we wait, it will keep analyzing the code, and it will suggest to make setter final. This way, it's not overwritable. Okay. So let's try to play with code analysis again, in case it will give us option. So let's analyze code. Code, inspect code. Now I say whole project, analyze. 5 warnings. Empty method in test, okay, we know about it. Unused declaration, rollable. It's not really unused, it's used here. So roll, method is never used as interface. Yes, it's correct. We didn't use this feature, we just declared this. Proofreading, build Gradle, rollable. Still didn't catch it, but maybe later it will catch. And it may suggest you that to make setter final. Making method final means you cannot override it. So there is a potential case like you inherit from dice class in child class, and you override setter. So it will call different setter, so it will be out of range. You can call different setter in the constructor, and it will be out of range, so it will be, you can assign -10 if you want. So for this reason, IDE sometimes suggests to make it final. Public final this way, This method cannot be overwritten in child classes, so it will be always code, not another method instead. Okay. So again, this is kind of hair-splitting precision to clean warnings. In this case, it didn't even show up, but sometimes it does show up. Questions? So let's wrap up. In the next lesson, we will just copy-paste code from posted code, and I will explain differences. Or we'll just clone it, because differences are by just adding extra stuff. So by now, it's probably already clear, reasonably clear, how to do commits, how to do step-by-step improvements, right? So let's wrap up, because we didn't have break, so we should probably finish slightly earlier. Right? So now I want to commit, and I say use it random number generator. No, use it random class, right? Use it class random. Oops. So in Git, it will appear here. Probably I ended up with slightly different code, but it's OK. It is quite close. So if you look up code on GitHub, it is quite close, plus it has more testing cases.